Welcome to another STAEDTLER Art Sessions with Riaan. In this session, we will focus on the magical world of color. Color theory is a vast subject. We will narrow it down into the basics for today's session, but we will revisit each of the terminologies in future sessions. If you have any questions about color theory, please feel free to email me or chat with me during the live session in the chat box below. Let's start coloring the world.
Understanding colours are vital for painting. Mixing colours will be the one task you perform more than you will paint. Therefore, having a good foundation of what colours are and how they interact will be beneficial for your art. In today's session, we will use Staedtler's acrylic paints. The paints are highly pigmented, which means that they are very opaque and will cover effectively. These brilliant colours have a smooth consistency and are very easy to mix. They are also perfect for crafts and fine art and easily clean with water. We strongly advise you paint along with us and not just watch the video. Let's talk about the primary colours. These are yellow, red and blue. Primary colours are the basis of all other colours. You cannot create a primary colour by mixing any two other colours together, but you can create any other colour by mixing primary colours together. Draw a circle and divide it into 3 sections. Then paint one primary colour in each of the sections. Once we have completed our primary colour wheel, it is time to look at colours we can mix with it. We call these secondary colours, which are a mixture of 2 primary colours to give us a new colour. This secondary colour must look like a colour halfway between the 2 primaries. When you start mixing 2 colours, try to use more of the weaker colour and add little bits of the strong colour to it. You can see that we add less red to the yellow to mix an orange. Here we mix blue and red to create a purple. Blue is stronger than red, so use more red than blue to mix purple. Using different blues and reds will give you different intensities of purple. A warmer blue and red will produce a more dull purple, and cooler red and blue will create a more vibrant purple. Play around with the different primary colours to see which combinations creates the best results. Purple can look very dark, so mix a bit of white to it so that you can see the purple more clearly. To mix green, we will also use the cooler versions of the primary colours. Using a warm blue and yellow will produce a nice olive green, but for now we need it to be bright. As you can see here, mixing yellow and red creates an orange. Mixing red and blue gives us purple, and mixing blue and yellow results in green. Orange, purple and green are called secondary colours. Let's take a look at tertiary colours. They are an extension of the secondary colour wheel. We will now add a new mixture between the primary and secondary colours, which is classed as a tertiary colour. Start with the two primary colours, then mix the secondary colour and lastly the tertiary colour. The colour between yellow and orange is called yellow-orange. Continue with the rest of the colour wheel by starting with the primaries, then secondaries, and lastly the tertiary colours. Remember, you will learn far more by doing this exercise than by viewing it only. Once you have created the colour wheels, you will have a physical tool you can go back to when needed. Let's learn a few more terms. The word hue refers to the name of a colour. Pure intense colours are called saturated. To make colours unsaturated, we need to add grey to the mixture. This exercise is a great one to learn what happens to a colour when you mix it with greys. Mix each of the colors in your paint box. Your color charts will become your friends when you need to mix specific colors. We will mix shades in the next part of the video. A shade is produced by mixing black to a hue. We suggest you do the same for all the colors in your paint box. Creating color charts is never a waste of time or paint. It is an essential tool for your studio work. We now move on to tints. Tints are created by adding white to a hue. Create a tint color chart for all your paints in your box. Tone is created by adding grey to a hue. This is the midpoint between shade and tint. We suggest you mix a mid-tone grey first, and then you can start your tone scale. Once you have created your shade and tone scales, put them next to each other and have a close look at what happens with colors just by adding black, white, and grey to it. It is astonishing to see how many colors you can create just by using these combinations of colors. We sometimes refer to colors as being warm or cool. The side where red, orange, and yellow is usually represents the warm side of the color wheel. The green, blue, and purple side represents the cool side. When you use a specific set of colors in an artwork, it is called a color scheme. Let's mix a monochromatic color scheme. Here we only employ red, black, and white. You can use any single color in a painting as a monochromatic color scheme. Let's talk about complementary colors. These are combinations of colors that are on the opposite sides of the color wheel. Here you can see that yellow and purple are on the opposite sides of the color wheel and therefore are complementary colors. Red and green are also complementary colors. Even tertiary colors can be complementary. An analogous color scheme is when you use colors that lie on either side of a chosen color of the color wheel. In this case, we can use yellow, yellow-green, and yellow-orange all in one painting as a color scheme. You can use any 3 or 4 colors analogous on the color wheel to create a color scheme. The triadic color scheme can be a tricky one to use. It consists of the 3 colors equally spaced on the color wheel. The primary colors are triadic. Usually you need to make one the main color, the second a supporting color, and the third just as accents. A split complementary color scheme is one color and the colors on each side of its complementary color. In this case, yellow, blue, purple, and red, purple. The tetradic color scheme is when you use 2 colors on either side of a color and then the complementary of these 2 colors. The square color scheme is similar to the tetradic scheme, but now we use a cross color scheme. Therefore, 4 colors equally spaced on the color wheel. Using the saturated colors will be difficult to harmonize, so it is best to use shade, tint, and tone techniques to get these color schemes to harmonize. In conclusion, the more you play with colour, the easier it will get. Create colour charts for yourself, and although you might feel like it is a waste of time and paint, it will save you a lot of paint and time in the future. You will know exactly what to mix to get a specific colour, or if you are in doubt, you can quickly use your colour charts as a reference to quickly mix the correct colour. Remember that most of your painting time is spent on the palette and not on the canvas. Have fun mixing paint and see you soon for the next session.